Financial restart at 50 years old. I thought this would be a pretty interesting post to go over. This is not my situation, but a close colleague of mine. They had recently fallen victim to an investment scam that has essentially lost them their life savings. IRA has been zeroed investing in this and taking the pre 59.5 tax hit. Two personal loans taken out to invest. HSA has a few hundred in it, not invested in the scam. Finally, took out a HELOC to invest further. Dear God. Whoa, so they literally lost, like, they didn't just lose everything, they lost more than everything. They're literally in debt because they try to put more. Oh my God, this is insane. Some context on the HELOC. House was bought for around 60K, 15 year. HELOC value was assessed at 120K and is now on a 30-year with PMI. Which, by the way, for those who don't know what PMI is, that's like basically private mortgage insurance, meaning that you're paying like an extra fee per month. Some of the equity went to completely clearing the two personal loans, along with an additional 20K in credit card debt and other collections. The rest was invested yet again in this scam. They've gained no liquidity from the HELOC. It either went into the scam or clearing the debt. Essentially, they sold their house to themselves and figuratively burned the home value appreciation into dust and reset the clock completely from $650 a month on a 15-year with only a few years left to now $1,200 a month with PMI, meaning they're now paying $1,200 a month and an extra fee per month for the next 30 years. Their 401k is still intact, but only holding around $40,000 in it, not allocated to any investment. Oh God. They are in their early 50s, and my biggest goal for them is to retire. They ain't retiring anytime soon, that's for sure. I'm in my early 30s, and I feel like some of the things I practice aren't applicable to them because their timeline to retirement is so much shorter. Our step one in this plan was to get them to, at minimum, get their 401k contribution up to their employer match. And our next step is to close all credit cards. But I am struggling to see where they go from there, considering a desired retiring age of 65. Wanted to get some thoughts on where to go from here. Some additional ideas I've thrown out are liquidating some personal assets, renting out rooms at the house, and side gigs. Assume income is around 50K single income. So here's the thing. By the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt, how I got out of debt and grew my net worth, go down below. But here's the thing. They are in a really messed up situation right now. Like a really, really brutal situation. And no, their main focus should not be trying to put money into the 401k because one, you can't even trust them that they're actually going to be putting that money into something that is smart because they are already like falling for like massive scams that are completely screwing them. So no, they should not be focusing on a 401k. Look, a 401k with a match is an amazing thing. But the reality is what they have to do for them to be somewhat safe in terms of like retirement is number one, get out of debt, right? Like they need to do everything they can to get out of debt because they are basically burying themselves alive, right? Like $1,200 a month with PMI for the next 30 years. They're 50 years old, okay? What, you want them to keep paying for this type of stuff for until they're 80? That's insane. Not to only mention, like, they're obviously really bad at managing their money. They can't invest well. Like, you can't trust them to invest their money. They can't trust themselves to invest their money, right? Which means they need it in a financial advisor, but they're not even anywhere close to the point where they could even have a decent financial advisor actually guiding them or assisting them with their investments. So, number one, they need to get out of debt. By the way, at the same time, cut off any forms of credit that they could potentially use, like a credit card or whatever, because they obviously can't use debt in their favor at all, period, right? With that 20K in credit card debt. And also, a HELOC is one of the worst things that you could do, period. So get out of debt, cut up the credit cards. They need to get a lot of money coming in a very short amount of time. Now they could do this because it seems like they're only making a single income of 50K. The partner, whoever the partner is, needs to be working as well. Both of them need to be working to fix them out of this situation, to dig themselves out of this hole, right? Or basically climb out of this hole. They both need to be doing something, right? So basically, get out of debt, build up a small emergency fund, more so like 3 to 6 months. Then they need to basically just be piling money down to get rid of this HELOC. Because I mean, is this HELOC should really be paid off, like one of the first things to pay off. But the problem is like the credit card debt, they need to pay that off first because that's probably their smallest debt. Then they need to focus on the HELOC. But that HELOC is just so bad. It is so bad. And they lost so much money. Like, I don't get how people fall for something this massive of a scam. Like, because, again, they didn't just lose all of their money. They lost all of their money and then some. Yeah, they got some money in the 401k, but it's not invested. And by the way, they still have a negative net worth while still having money in their 401k. But that's what they need to do. Get out of debt, get an emergency fund. Don't put money in towards investments because they can't even trust themselves to invest correctly. Get a lot, like a pretty hefty cash pile. And also, by the way, after they get out of debt and actually have an emergency fund, what I would do for them is probably do like late term care insurance. And the reason why I would say that because it's going to be very unlikely for them to get a huge amount of money that could potentially cover their later years in terms of like going into a nursing home, right? Now they could technically still end up becoming very wealthy before they retire. The only problem is it really depends on whether or not both of them are actually going to work, right? Because this is not a situation where two people can survive on a 50K single income when they've made such bad financial choices. Like, they are financially destroyed. They need both of them working at like 100 to get themselves out of this situation. This person says, wow, that's truly awful. I agree, dear Lord. Unfortunately, your assessment is sound. This is a very difficult situation. Probably the only way to meet a retirement age of 65 will be to dramatically reduce expenses in retirement. Not having the house paid off makes this a struggle. Build a budget for Social Security and a very limited draw from their 401k. Let's see. So it's a shame the original purchase of the house was a grand slam. They purchased in 2012, had been a 2008 foreclosure that had just never sold. No foundational, mechanical, or issues with major appliances, and the value of the home doubled in under 10 years. Simply sticking to that would have been a fantastic financial move. Yeah, like that's the thing. And this is from like the person that actually made the post. Like, these 50-year-olds pretty much financially destroy their lives. And that's a really hard thing to see, right? Because imagine you're basically doing everything right in your life, and then at 50 years old, you make a series of choices that just completely wreck you financially. Horrible. Was the scam identified, closed, no opportunity to recoup? Oh Lord. So crypto scam. 100% fraudulent crypto brokerage, working through that legal process too, although it's unlikely anything will come of it. That is that's hard to read because it's probably one. This is the issue, right? Like they got greedy. They wanted to make so much money so quickly, and so they fell for this thing. So this was a greed situation, and that makes me really sad because like they have no one else to blame but themselves at this point. Like you got greedy, and that like oh this get rich quick thing was like your golden ticket to the chocolate factory. It's like come on. The need to get on a rice and bean diet and save like crazy. Can they sell the house and downsize? Any hope of recovery of funds from the scam? The house is 900 square feet and 120K. I don't really know what more there is to downsize to, at least in the area. I mean, yeah, the thing is, like a 120K house isn't really that costly of a house, really. Man, feel free to give your thoughts if you stumble upon this. I think this is pretty brutal. If you want to learn how to get out of debt and learn how I got out of debt and grew my net worth to over six figures, feel free to go ahead and do that. The thing is, look, personal finance is personal. Everything is like more so in like a specific situation, right? Like your specific personal financial situation. But there's just some foundational rules that you should stick by, right? Live below what you make. Don't get into debt. At the very least, no consumer debt, right? Like, I mean, I understand the whole mortgage thing because a lot of people cannot buy a house in cash or whatever. But, like, leasing a car, bad idea. Taking a loan out for a car, very bad idea. Taking a HELOC out on your house that was almost paid off, an extremely bad idea. Putting all of your money into crypto, very bad idea. Man, like this sucks because like you'd hope that people in their 50s would be almost at the point where they could retire, but now they're basically potentially going to have to work like another 15 years full time, both of them, to really make it so that they could actually retire safely, which sucks. Like you don't want to see someone at that age, that older age, like working super hard. Like you never want to see something like that. Like that's really sad. Again, feel free to give your thoughts, what you would do in this situation. But if I was them, I'd get out of debt, get an emergency fund, make sure I have no access to credit whatsoever, do everything I can to pay off that HELOC, which I'm gonna like really they should like try to like change that HELOC into something else because that just like that HELOC really disturbs me. Like I don't know the kind of like stipulations that they have with that HELOC really. I mean they say it's like for like the next 30 years, but ugh, man, like who knows really what the terms actually are on it. I don't know if this person actually saw the document. Whew, that's bad. This is really bad.